everyone, my name is Laura. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Thanks for clicking on this video. So today I am going to be showing you all of the Hoya that I've gotten so far in 2022. So we are about halfway through June, and I realized that I have actually acquired quite a few Hoya this year so far. I know, it's so bad, but I can't stop adding Hoya to my collection. I just love them so much. Some of these you have seen probably in all my plants tour that I did earlier this year, or in other videos where I've kind of talked about some of my Hoya, but some of these I haven't shared on this channel yet, so they'll be new to you, and I'm excited to share them. There's quite a variety, so let's just get into it. I'm sharing these in no particular order. I'm just grabbing them as I see them. I've laid them all like out in front of me, so I'm just gonna randomly grab them. No order. The first one I have is Hoya Nummuloides. This is a bunch of cuttings. I got this as 3 or 4 really long cuttings, like 2 or 3 foot long cuttings. So I chopped it up into smaller cuttings so that I could kind of grow out a nice bushy plant instead of one with like 3 really long strands. And I've been rooting it in sphagnum moss. It's kind of dark. I don't know why it looks so dark on camera. But I have been rooting it in moss, and I got this one pretty recently, like in the last couple of weeks, and so I don't think that it has any roots, at least no substantial roots yet. But one really exciting thing about this, let's see if I can find it. Yes, here they are. There are 3 peduncles on these cuttings. So there's one right here. I don't know how well you can see that. Oh, there you go. There's one up here. And there's one like way in there, right there. So I don't know if these will dry up and fall off since these are cuttings, but I'm holding on to hope that at least the plant will hold on to one of them. It would be really, really fun to have this root up and bloom like very soon after. I would be just like over the moon. So hopefully that happens, but we'll see. This is Hoya Nummuloides. The next one is my Hoya Bella Louis Bois. So that is the inner variegated Hoya Bella. I got this as a 4-leaf 2-node cutting. It has since rooted up. I did the little like tug test where I tried to tug the little plant out of the sphagnum moss, and it is pretty tight in there, which means that it's got some good roots. So as you can see, it is the inner variegated. The outside of it still has that green lining, and the inside is that like creamy or more yellowish coloration. That is Hoya Bella Louis Bois. Next, I have another cutting. This one's in a little vase. This is Hoya EPC 1002. So I have a very similar one, Hoya EPC 1001. EPC 1002 is a Finlaysonii and Vitellina hybrid, and I believe that 1001 is also a Finlaysonii hybrid, but I don't remember what it's hybridized with. But look at these roots on this guy. That's pretty incredible. I'm pretty excited. This could definitely go and live in moss or soil now. It definitely has enough roots, but I have been too lazy to pot it up. So it's been living in water for probably about a month or 2. I think this plant is so stunning. Look at that foliage. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. So that is EPC 1002. Up next, this was also a cutting that I got that is now very, very well rooted. I got this one actually earlier in the year, so I've had it for a couple months now. You can see the roots growing in down here. This is a Hoya densifolia. I think this one's really unique compared to a lot of different Hoya. The leaves kind of almost grow in a rosette pattern, if you can see that. And it's very sturdy, like upright and sturdy. Obviously, as it gets bigger, it'll kind of flop over, but compared to a lot of Hoya, it's very, very like upright. And so it's very unique. Hoya densifolia. Up next is my variegated Hoya Waiatii. This plant is so stunning. I got this one at a local nursery. I went to buy plants for my garden, like my outdoor plants, and I saw this and I was like, all right, I'm bringing this home because look at how stunning it is. It has lost some of its sun stressing since I brought it home because I'm not giving it as intense of lighting as it was getting at the nursery. But when I did get it, most of the leaves were like this hot pink color. It was so wild. And I'm hoping that maybe I can get it under some more intense lighting so that it will all pink up again, because I do love that look. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. I think this plant is so beautiful, so unique. And I have the regular Waiatii and I have the variegated Quintinvia. I'm still unsure about whether Quintinvia and Waiatii are the same plant or not. But if they're not, then I do not have this plant, and if they are, I have it, but it is little. So I'm very excited about adding this plant to my Hoya collection. Next, I have this little guy. This is Hoya Crassipetiolata. It is just a cutting and some leca. I got it in leca. Y'all know I'm not very well versed in leca, so I don't usually grow plants in leca unless they come in leca already. But it has some good roots. Can you see that? It's got some really good roots on there. So I'm pretty hopeful that this will keep rooting up and give me a new growth point, because I got it with this one leaf like maybe a month ago. It's giving me no growth other than root growth, which like I'm not mad about that. I know it takes a while to establish, but this plant is so pretty. I love Hoya Crassipetiolata, so I hope that this will start growing for me soon, because I can't wait to have a nice big plant of this. Up next is another cutting. This is Hoya Thompsonii. This also is very, very well rooted, as you can see. Another one that I've been too lazy to pot up, but definitely could get potted up anytime now. I think this one's so cute with its splashy little leaves, and it's so fuzzy. I don't know if you can see the fuzzes on there. I hope the camera is picking up how fuzzy it is. I don't think it is. I think it's getting kind of washed out by the lighting, but it is so fuzzy. This is probably, besides my Caudata Sumatra, this is probably my fuzziest Hoya, and it's so cute, so fuzzy. So that is Hoya Thompsonii. Next up is another cutting. Surprise, surprise. These are all basically cuttings, but this is Hoya Fischeriana. This is one I hadn't heard of until it was given to me. So I'm very excited to see the growth pattern of this guy as it starts growing. The leaf seems like pretty stiff, like not very flexible. I don't know. And it does have some of that white veination throughout the leaf. Also has some really good roots, could definitely get potted up in sphagnum or in soil, but I am too lazy, as I said earlier, and so it's gonna live in water. I use liquid dirt water in all of my cuttings that are in water and in sphagnum moss to make sure that they're able to have the nutrients that they need to push out any new growth. So I'm hoping this will start growing here soon, and then we'll be able to learn a little bit more about it. I've been trying to do a little bit of Googling on the Google machine, but I haven't found a ton about Hoya Fischeriana. So if you have this plant or you know anything about this plant, let me know down below, because I would love to know more about this plant. Okay, we're gonna take a break from cuttings for a second here and do some potted Hoya. This is the inner variegated Hoya obovata. These bottom leaves here, you can probably see this one here is a little messed up. It got all messed up as it was growing in, and same with this one. But these two new leaves are growing in just fine. As the name says, this is Hoya obovata that is variegated on the inside. So we can see the inside of the circles or the blobs that have grown in have that variegation. I got this one with just the two bottom leaves, and it's pushed out these two top leaves rather quickly. So I'm excited to see it continue to grow. It does have like a little active growth nub right there at the top, as you can see. So I think this one will take off. Hopefully it will, because this is a really, really neat colored Hoya. Next up, I have Hoya Bella. This is a nice, like, classic Hoya that I've owned in the past, but if any of you have owned Hoya Bella, you know that they require care that's slightly different from most Hoya. These are really, really thirsty Hoya. And so the one that I had in the past, I tried to take care of it the way that I took care of the rest of my Hoya, and it did not love that and did not thrive or survive, and I've really missed having one. I know Hoya Bella can be a really prolific bloomer. Mine never bloomed in the past, so I'm hoping that this one will bloom if it's happier and healthier. I think Hoya Bella is so beautiful. Look at that. So beautiful. And let me hold up my Louis Bois next to it so that you can see the difference. This is the all green Hoya Bella, and here's my Louis Bois Hoya Bella that I showed earlier. So see how the regular one's all green, and then this one has just green on the edges and then that yellowy cream color on the inside. There's one other type of Hoya Bella, that's the Albo Marginata, I believe, where it's green on the inside and the borders are white. So that is on my wish list. I've been keeping a very, very open eye for it because I would love to complete my Hoya Bella trifecta, but we'll see. For now, these are the two that I have. Next up is another cutting. This is the variegated Hoya Glariana, which if you've been on this channel for more than 5 minutes, you know that I cannot pronounce Glariana. Even though it shouldn't be that hard, I just can't do it. But Yes, that is what this is. I have the green version and I've been looking for this variegated version for a while, but they've become a little unavailable, at least in my area. So I had been trying for a while to find one and I finally found a little cutting. I was hoping to get a full plant, but that's okay. I will grow out this little cutting. I think this plant is so pretty. Let's see if we can focus on the variegation. Come on. Okay, my camera is absolute garbage, just like pure garbo, so it does not want to focus, but the variegation is so pretty. Maybe here we can see a little bit of it. It has that like cream on the inside, the dark green on the outside, and then it has like throughout little specks of like lime green. I hope you can see that because it's so pretty, but my camera is garbo, so it's not going to show you. It is pretty well rooted now. Again, you probably can't see this, but oh, yes, you can. There's a little root right there. Do you see that? It is rooting up very nicely. Oh, there's another one right there. When I got it, it had like very, very minimal roots, but I have had it for a while now, so it has rooted up quite nicely. No new growth yet, but hopefully soon. Okay, this Hoya isn't necessarily new. I've had a linearis for a while now, probably almost 2 years, but it was very, very sparse and it was growing. It was getting really bald at the top. It only had like 5 strands that were just like looking kind of nasty. So recently I got a 4-inch pot of Hoya linearis that also wasn't looking super great, but with the powers of the 2 Hoya linearis combined, I was able to fill up my pot a little bit more. So I think it looks very, very nice. I'm also showing this to you because I forgot to show it to you during all my Hoya collection tour video, which is such a bummer because this is definitely one of my favorite Hoya. So I wanted to take a chance now to show it to you. I really hope this guy will bloom for me. Hoya linearis blooms are so funky. I really like them. I think they're so cute. So I'm hoping mine will bloom, but we'll see. Next is my Hoya obovata. This is a very, very splashy Hoya obovata. I did have an obovata in the past, but it got very, very tall and I had it up like on a shelf where I wasn't looking at it all the time. And so it got really tall and then fell over because of its weight and snapped. And by the time I found it, it was like 3 days later, which is totally my bad, but it had just like completely died. Like the piece that snapped off was not very salvageable. I did try to root it out, but it did not make it. And then the piece that was left had like the roots had been ripped out of the pot when it fell over. And so again, I tried to salvage it, but it did not make it either. So I learned my lesson and I have this on a giant stake, as you can see, because Hoya obovata can get pretty heavy as it grows. So I'm hoping that this one will keep growing for me because it is putting out a little baby leaf. Do you see that? So cute. I love baby Hoya leaves, they're so cute. But yeah, it is growing quite a bit and I'm hoping that it will continue to do so. So maybe one day I'll have a nice big Hoya obovata again that I won't let snap and die this time. The next Hoya that I have to share with you today is my Hoya lacunosa. And if you're thinking like, oh, I thought you had a Hoya lacunosa, didn't it bloom, blah, 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 you talk about it all the time. You're correct. I do have a Hoya lacunosa, but the one that I had already was the narrow leaf Hoya lacunosa. This is the wide leaf Hoya lacunosa. So the leaves on this guy are about twice the width of the one that I have already. The blooms are the same. Everything about the plant is the same. Just the shape of the leaves is different. So of course, you know, gotta catch them all. I had to get the wide-leafed lacunosa. So I've added this guy to my collection pretty recently and I have been super into making trellises for my Hoya. Like most of my Hoya right now are on trellises, which they were not the last time you all saw them. But I've been making these trellises with wire and this like jute or twine and I just love the way it looks. I'm hoping that my Hoya will like grow all over them and bloom and be happy and do all the Hoya things that they love to do. But yes, that is my Hoya lacunosa, the wide-leafed variety. Up next, I have Hoya Quintinvia. This one was on my wish list for a really long time. It is a cutting, but I think it has rooted. If I try to tug it, it doesn't come out. Oh yeah, it's for sure rooted. Look at that root. This one's very pretty. The leaves get pretty big and yeah, I'm very excited about this one. This one had like a big growth vine when I got it, but it looks pretty dried up to me. I'm not gonna trim it, but I don't think any growth is gonna come from here. I think if any growth comes, it'll be from the base of the plant, but I don't know, we'll see. This one I'm super excited about. This next Hoya, I don't actually have an ID for. It was given to me when I got a bunch of Hoya from someone and they threw this one in with it as like a little add-on, but I do not know what it is. So if any of you have an ID for this Hoya, that would be awesome. If you can let me know down below, and if you don't, I don't either. I'm calling it Hoya species ? For now, and we'll see. Maybe it will give us like a miraculous bloom next week or something and we'll be able to ID it, but probably not. This one also has some good roots. I don't know if you can see that little fuzzy white root right there. So yeah, it's growing. It's doing great. It's doing great. My little mystery Hoya. Next up is this Hoya verticulata. It's like super long and awkward, so it's just kind of shaped like a V. Also, upon further inspection, I realized I'm pretty sure I potted this cutting in upside down. Do you see that? I'm so sure that's upside down. I'm pretty sure this one's right side up, but so sure this one's upside down, but it's rooted. So I don't know what to do. Do I just leave it? Why am I such a little dum-dum? Why would I do this? Please confirm if this is upside down or not. Can someone please confirm? Is this upside down? It looks so upside down, but anyway, Hoya verticulata, one is right side up, one is potentially most likely upside down. It is rooted up in here. Both of them are very rooted in here, so we'll see when it starts growing / if it never grows from the top here that it is upside down. This Hoya has a little bit of venation on it. Has these teardrop shaped leaves with a little bit of veining. Nothing too special about this guy, but I am excited to have this one grow and discover if I potted this upside down or not. We shall see. We shall see. I'll keep you updated. Next up, I have this Hoya Patella pink. I know that earlier I said my Thomsonia was probably one of my fuzziest ones along with my Caudata Sumatra, but I recant that statement. This Patella pink is super duper fuzzy as well. Those are definitely not my only two fuzzy Hoya. I don't think the camera's picking it up again, unfortunately, but oh, maybe there you can see all those like little white spots. That's all fuzz. It's so fuzzy. This one's also giving me a new growth point, which totally you cannot see. Oh, it's here on the left. Do you see that? I'm super excited because they also rooted up very nicely. This one was kind of a random purchase, so I'm excited about it because sometimes random purchases don't go very well. You're like, oh, I don't actually like this, but I do actually like this, so I'm excited for it to grow. Hoya Patella pink. Next up is Hoya Lee Chyna. This one is also a little bit fuzzy, but like not super fuzzy like my other two that I showed you. This one, the leaves really remind me of my PG04, the one that's shaped like a little taco, just like a little bit bigger. That is what I have to say about Hoya Lee Chyna. Next, I have Hoya Glariana. This Hoya I've had on my wish list for so long, but in my area it was so inaccessible for like almost 2 or 3 years. Like it was almost impossible to get your hands on. So when someone was selling cuttings of this, I was like, yeah, give me one, please, and thank you. So this one's super cute. I think it looks like a little sprig of rosemary almost. Do you see that? It's so cute. It has put out all of this new growth here for me. It's putting out some biba leaves, which is very exciting. And I cannot wait to have this like grow into a nice big plant so I can propagate it and just like get a nice bushy plant of Hoya Glariana. They're so cute. Next up is Hoya Katzbergiai. This one is so funny. Its leaves are just like perfect little circles. Do you see that? They're so cute. I'd never heard of this Hoya until I saw it up for sale. It kind of, the leaf shape, like with it being kind of like a cupped leaf, reminds me of Hoya Dekier, which I have one. And that one similarly, I'd never heard of it before. And when it went up for sale, I was like, give me one, I'll give it a shot. And I have loved my Dekier so much. So when I saw this one, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I've loved it. It hasn't done a ton of growing for me. It does have some good roots. You can see one right there. And it is pushing out some new growth. I don't know how much you can tell that top there is starting to grow. But yeah, Katzbergiai, I'm very excited about this one. This is another one that I don't know a ton about. I don't know the growth pattern of it. Like, does it grow upwards? Does it trail? Does it vine? We shall see. If you own a Katzbergiai, let me know down below what your experience has been with its growth pattern and like what it likes to do as it gets bigger so that I know what to expect. Next up is Hoya elliptica. This one has a little bit of damage on this leaf and I think a couple of the other leaves. Before I got this as a cutting, the mother plant was infested with mites, and so it does have some mite damage throughout, but it doesn't have mites anymore. It was just a thing of the past, but unfortunately it does have some cosmetic damage because of it. But Hoya elliptica, I think this one is so gorgeous. I love the veining on it. It really reminds me a lot of my EPC 1002 that I have right here. Kind of a similar vibe, you know, with the veining kind of waving throughout. It almost reminds me of a turtle. Maybe it's just me. It looks like a little turtle shell. I don't know. But yeah, Hoya elliptica, this one has started to give me some new growth as well. Right off this little tip is throwing out new growth, which is not super easy to see, but hopefully it'll grow enough that I can show you next time some actual new growth. We have some good roots on here as well. You see that root going across here. So yeah, Hoya elliptica, this is another one that I had heard of it, but I'd never really like had it on a wish list. But then because it had all the cosmetic damage from the mites, it was such a good deal, like almost free. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's take it. Let's give it a shot. Let's grow it. And it is so stunning. I'm so glad I did it. So that is Hoya elliptica. Next up is Hoya Surigawensis. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm really trying my best. Surigawensis is how that's my best try. So this one is another large leafed Hoya. I love large leafed Hoya. I do not have very many. Definitely want to get more large leafed Hoya. But this one also has some nice sun stressing throughout, which I think is super cute. And it's not very rooted. Like as you can see, I can kind of swivel it around the cup. It doesn't come up when I tug it, but it isn't very well rooted. I've had it for as long as a lot of these that I've just shown you here near the end, probably around like 2 months now, but I guess it's just taking a little bit longer to root, and that's okay. I'll be patient. So yeah, that is Hoya Surigawensis. Next up, I have Hoya Dekier Splash. I don't know if Hoya Dekier Splash is any different from just regular Hoya Dekier. Like most Hoya get really splashy in certain lighting, so I'm pretty sure they're the same. But yes, that is Hoya Dekier Splash. The leaves are kind of heart-shaped. It almost reminds me of a carry, but it has a lot of veining throughout as well. And the leaves are a little bit more cupped. Like if you can see that, the leaves are pretty cupped. So when I got this, it was very sun stressed. The leaf was almost bright red, but of course I have not been able to keep it under the same lighting conditions that it was in, so it's faded back to green, which is okay, but maybe one day I'll be able to give it some intense lighting so that it can get back to that really beautiful red that it was when I got it. It has some good roots as well. You can see that little root coming in down here. So yeah, that is Hoya Dekier Splash. All right, last one. I told y'all I had a lot. I did not lie when I said I've gotten a lot of Hoya this year, but this is Hoya Chicken Farm. This is one that had been on my wish list for a while, and again, wasn't super accessible where I live, and so when I saw it, I absolutely had to hop on it. Another large leafed Hoya. The leaf is about the size of my hand. How fun. This one is taking a bit to root up. You can see one root kind of coming down over here, but it hasn't really rooted up too much. It's still pretty wiggly in the moss if I try to move it around. One thing that's super exciting about this though, and I've shared this with some of my plant friends, is that it's given me a peduncle. You can see that up here. And I keep joking that this peduncle is its like death peduncle because it thinks I'm gonna kill it, and so it's trying to at least save its species by throwing out a bloom before it dies. But I don't know if that's why it's blooming, but it hasn't grown at all. I have heard that Hoya Chicken Farm can be kind of a slow grower, so I'm not gonna take it personally that it's not growing for me or rooting up for me and is just throwing out a peduncle, a little death peduncle. But yeah, if you have any experience with Hoya Chicken Farm, let me know down below. Honestly, with any of these Hoya that I've shown you, let me know down below. I'm very excited for this to grow though, if it ever decides to, because it is very, very cute, very unique. And it is very splashy. This leaf's kind of curled, so you can't see it too well, but it does have splashes all throughout. It's a very rough leafed Hoya, very sturdy leaf. I almost feel like I could like put a lot of force into this before actually like snapping the leaf in half, which I won't do, but I could. yeah, that's the last Hoya Chicken Farm with its death peduncle. All right, those were all the Hoya that I have gotten in 2022 so far. I don't know if I'll be getting a lot more in the remainder of the year, but if I do, I will let you know and I will do a video for the rest of the year Hoya haul. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!